This is a Cincy fan talking with LP. You can catch me on Twitter. That's a Cincy fan talking. You say it like it sounds, just leave off the G. If you have ideas for the show, you can reach me at Cincy_fan talk at yahoo.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, make sure you leave them there. Who knows, you might find yourself as part of the show. Any feedback would be definitely appreciated. And also, make sure you hit the Linktree page that's on my Twitter. Make sure you click on that. You can find all the different ways to contact me there. Enjoy the show. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of A Cincy Fan Talking with LP. And once again, this is LP. Appreciate y'all stopping by the pod. Definitely appreciate y'all checking me out for this episode. As always, you know how to find the links. If you don't know where to catch me, you can always catch me on Twitter. And if you're looking for the pod, pretty much go anywhere where you can find a pod. Type in A Cincy Fan Talking. Leave off the G. You should see the blue screen pop up. Click on that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can know every time that we're dropping. Would 100% appreciate that. So this is a 2 podcast, not only week, but a 2 podcast day. If you didn't catch the Bengals preview podcast, make sure you kind of jump back up one and click on that. Hear the thoughts on the Bengals. Football's not really your bag. You can kind of stick and stay here and listen to this. So I got you covered no matter what. We talking Bishop Sycamore a little bit. If you're not from Ohio and you've never heard of Bishop Sycamore, that's cool because I'm from Ohio and I never heard of Bishop Sycamore like ever in my life. Not until about a week and a half ago. If you're not caught up to speed, I'm gonna catch you up real quick. Bishop Sycamore is a school, air quote on school, in the Columbus area. Actually, we're supposedly in Columbus. This school had a different name last year, closed it down, opened it back up this year, and they've been going on, I guess, a tour of playing a whole lot of games, football games, against other teams from around the country. Real elite programs. They get ran off the table every single week, but they keep showing up for more. Come to find out, they ended up hustling ESPN because they told ESPN that they had all of these Division I recruits, and they would give the second ranked team in the nation a good battle. ESPN puts this on television, and of course, it's a boat race to the tune of 58-0 for the second ranked team, not Bishop Sycamore. People did some deep digging, which ain't really hard, and the information is, you just click a few buttons. Come to find out, Bishop Sycamore doesn't have any Division I recruits. They've been running 19, 20, 21-year-olds out here, and they're not even listed as an Ohio Department of Education school. They're a non-chartered, private school. So if you're on the outside looking in, you're going like, this is a strange sequence of events. How could ESPN let this happen? This, that, and the third. If you're anywhere near education, anywhere close to it, especially here in Ohio, you understand how easy this was to do for a school like Bishop Sycamore. Now, I've been teaching for 15 years. I've seen so many charter schools close down that open back up with a different name. I've seen so much crazy stuff happen in the charter school spectrum that I looked at this, and the first thing I thought was another charter school out here tripping. This wasn't even a charter school. This was not necessarily I wouldn't say it's not a real school because in Ohio, you can go non chartered and you can just claim religious reasons. You can say, due to how we feel our religion runs, we don't want to follow the specific Ohio Department of Education state guidelines. And that is legal. You can really do that. So I'm not going to go up here and say, this was not a school. This wasn't a school at all. The messed up part about this and why this is so much of a problem is we're living in 2021 and school is different from how it used to look back in the 90s or even the early 2000s. A lot of people dump on online education. It's really just another way to homeschool your kid. So there are feasible and appropriate methods to do a homeschool online education. What Bishop Sycamore did, it kind of speaks to what people will do to get their name out there, how important a scholarship is. You tell people, hey, if you play here, we'll get you on TV. You'll play against other teams that are really, really good. If their scouts are out there looking at them and you ball out, hey, guess what? You're about to shine now. I'm sure this was the pitch that they gave to a lot of young men and their families. And it's really easy to look at these families and go like, how could you let this happen? Did you read the fine print? Did you drive up to the school? Did you do any of this? And all of that is valid. All of that is true. You can also look at it like this. You got a kid playing football. He's pretty good. You want him to be great. You want him to be seen. You want him to get a scholarship. The best way to do that in this climate is to put your kid up against other kids with like-minded talent that can be seen. So when I look at this situation, this brings up so many more problems than people would think. This is going to be a storyline for like another couple of days. People are going to forget about it. The T-shirts that are running around saying Bishop Sycamore athletics, you won't see those anymore. But the systemic problem is still going to be there. And the problem is this. You are going to have schools, you're going to have individuals that represent schools that understand how important it is for young men to get a scholarship. And they're going to take advantage of that. Until we fix that loophole, this is going to keep happening. So I don't really put this on ESPN. I don't put this on the kids. I don't put this on the parents. I put this on the school wholeheartedly. And then I go like this. We have loopholes that we need to close up. It shouldn't be so easy to let kids move around from neighborhood to neighborhood and then go to that school. There should be some type of restriction on, hey, you move here, you can't play the first 10 games of this season. And that's for moving. You can't leave your team and then automatically just go ahead and play. If something like that happened, it would nip this stuff in the bud immediately. It's happening in high school basketball here already, where you'll have a transfer go from one school to another, and they can play the first 10 games of the season, and they can't play any games after that. So they can't use them for the playoffs. Automatically, decisions need to be made. I really want to play for this school, but I also have to keep in mind that I'm going to miss the playoff run if I do that. These schools are exploiting loopholes. And when you exploit a loophole, I mean, just imagine an actual loophole. Like in your mind, think about how small a loophole is. At first, you're trying to get through it with your finger or whatever, and you can't open it at all. But the more you try, the bigger that loophole is, and it gets to the point where you can basically put anything into the loophole to the point where the loophole stretches out and it breaks. That's what's happening to this loophole. And Bishop Sycamore, what they did against ESPN, it opened the loophole to the point where it's broken. Now, what has to happen is you have to have grown-ups that are willing to close that loophole to the point where there's no longer a hole in it. That's what has to happen. There need to be fundamental changes made because these kids weren't even learning anything. And I'm watching I'm watching interviews where the kids are saying, at first I thought it was cool that I wasn't learning anything. I wanted to go to school and I wanted to play football. But at some point, I was like, that's wrong. I felt wrong because I wasn't learning anything. Once we let athletics get in the way of education, that should automatically signify a huge problem because we're calling them student athletes, but consistently we're seeing that these kids end up valuing playing football or basketball more than the education. And they're kids and they're old enough to understand that that's wrong. But you have to understand that if they feel like that, it's only a matter of time before you find a grown up that's behind them championing the same thing, which is why they're saying what they're saying. Kids are going to do not what they're told to do, not what they're supposed to do. Kids are always going to do what they're allowed to do. I've always said this. This is like a mantra in my classroom. This is a mantra in my life. People don't do, people don't act to you the way they're supposed to act. They do what you tolerate. If you let people do a certain thing, no matter how great that person is, at some point they're going to just do what they want to do if you accept it, if you tolerate it. If you're like, hey, keep this room clean. I want you to keep this room clean. But you watch kids drop stuff on the floor, you just watch them throw stuff all around, and you just walk past it. They're not listening to you tell them to keep the room clean. They don't hear that. All they see is, hey, I dropped this on the floor. Nobody told me to pick it up. They see my room dirty every day. They don't say anything to me. Boom. You're living with kids with dirty rooms. And then you're yelling at them like, why don't you ever do what I say? Because you're not expecting the room clean. You're just simply saying it for it to sound good. That's what we're dealing with here. We keep saying that education is important. Oh, get an education, go to school. You got to graduate, you got to get your diploma, blah, blah, blah. But stuff like this happens with Bishop Sycamore. And a week from now, nobody's talking about it. And this should be talked about heavily. There is no way in the world a school should be able to exist that doesn't have a physical address. They're literally telling you they don't care about school. And what I'm hoping is somebody steps in and makes an example out of them. So in the future, we don't see stuff like this popping up all around the state and all around the country because low key it already is. Bishop Sycamore just got caught. So that's my thing. This is really a problem, and not just as far as sports, but educationally, this is a huge problem. We have a lot of schools that are allowed to do what they want to do because they're not ran by the state and they don't have to follow state rules. They're on a charter. And now you have schools existing outside of that realm. It's gonna get dangerous. So what I say is people need to step up, close those loopholes, and make sure that this stuff doesn't happen. So we can have kids that actually use education as a springboard to what they want to do. I'm not saying every kid has to stay in college for 4 years and then that's not really the point. But school is supposed to be a tool to do what you want to do next. That should be the goal of an adult. If adults aren't living by that, how can we expect the kids to? It just doesn't make sense. You got a Cincy fan talking with LP. Catch you in a second. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Princess. And I'm Queen. This is Daddy.
You have to say, and this is a Cincy fan talking with LP.
And this is a sensitive fan talking with LP Daddy.
Nice job.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to a Cincy fan talking with LP. And of course, this is your boy LP. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff lately. Just cruising through. I'm waiting for 2K to drop. It's dropping Friday. So waiting to hear how disappointed people are with the game, even though it's only have been out for like 25 minutes. People just be losing their shit. Like, so I'm extremely excited to laugh at people that's really upset with the game, and we'll do a little review about how I feel about how 2K went. We'll do that next week. But I've been on YouTube and I've been watching two things. I've been watching a lot of sketch comedy, and I've been watching a lot of teachers yelling at kids. I I know why I've been watching the first one. I don't know why I've been watching the second one, and I really had to psychoanalyze myself to figure it out. And I think I got it. I'm gonna break it down for you. I think I understand why I've been watching teachers yell at kids. So sketch comedy is interesting to me because you got some independent folks, writing funny stuff and doing funny things. What I noticed about sketch comedy is I can't watch too much of the same person, especially when they like drop their entire season and you just watch it back to back to back. I can't watch it. And me dropping content myself, I'm I'm always bigging up people dropping content. As long as it's funny and they're following their vision, you'll never hear me hate on them. My thing is sometimes the sketch comedy it gets repetitive. It has to be hard to do sketch comedy and keep it fresh. It has to be, and sometimes, and this is not all sketch comedians, but you have some sketch comedians that'll literally do the same type of thing over and over and over again, and it's funny, but after a while, it's like I know exactly what I'm about to get, so it doesn't hit as much as it should. It really makes you appreciate somebody like a Dave Chappelle or somebody like Key and Peele or people like that. It makes you appreciate them because they were able to keep their sketch comedy fresh. You got to push the envelope a little bit. You got to do stuff that might be a little bit controversial, and I know people really don't want to do that in this climate because they're afraid of getting canceled. They're afraid of just doing something out of the ordinary and people just crapping on them. But as a comedian, it has to be accepted that you are going to offend somebody. I look at comedy like that. When I'm watching comedy, when I'm watching the greats, I expect them to say something that you go like, "Oh, did you really say that?" Bill Burr, for instance. Bill Burr to me is absolutely hilarious. He pushes the boundaries. He says some stuff that make you go like, "Whoa, yikes!" But it's comedy, and I put comedy in a different place than I put other things. As long as you're not literally just yelling out the F word or the R word or something like that, as long as you're not doing that and just doing it to be just doing it in hatred, I can usually rock with you. Like I really can. Because when you listen to some of the greats, when you watch Eddie Murphy when he did Delirious and when he did Raw, that stuff wouldn't fly now. Like it's just not. But at the same time, when you look at it, you kind of go like, okay, he's being funny. I understand what he's trying to do. I might not necessarily rock with this, but I understand what you're trying to do. I feel like sketch comedy can't do that. It just can't. Because in these days and times, not saying that people shouldn't be hypersensitive, because maybe the stuff that people were doing back then, maybe it wasn't as cool as we thought it was. You know what I mean? Just because it was funny then doesn't mean it's funny now. Comedy changes. But I feel like with sketch comedy, people kind of stay in their lane and they don't deviate from that lane. They just kind of stick to it, and that's all they doing. But then you got some sketch comedians that's just absolutely hilarious, and then they can switch it up and do other things. And that's what I really want from sketch comedy, especially on YouTube. Like, if you want to blow up to that next level, you have to be able to step outside of your lane and do stuff that you're not comfortable with. It doesn't have to be controversial. Like, you don't have to push the envelope like that. You just got to switch it up and make it look different or sound different. And when I was watching, like, a bunch of sketch comedians doing their thing, I'm like, okay, you telling the story this way. Okay, now you telling the different story this way. That's what I appreciate about sketch comedians the most. Like, if you can do that, you can be funny. Um, I think a great sketch show that does that, I think it's called the Black Woman's Sketch Show on HBO. They really do a good job of switching up the stories and switching up the characters and stuff like that. And they use a plethora of different people in order to do it. And sometimes they might use the same people, but that they found ways to keep it fresh and keep it different. So, like, I really appreciate that from a sketch show. So I was noticing that during my YouTube viewing. And then I also noticed that stuff kept popping up on my recommendations about teachers yelling at kids. I'm like, why is this on my recommendations? I've never clicked on this in my natural life. Why are you here? Then I clicked on it. I'm like, I am interested. Then I clicked on another one and I'm just watching a teacher losing her shit at a kid. And I'm like, who hurt you? So then I clicked on one where I see teachers losing it virtually. Like, they going off on virtual classes. And the more I watched, the more intrigued I got, because I noticed very quickly I wasn't just watching it to go like, ooh. I'm looking like, okay, this teacher should have did this. And I'm not blaming the teacher and I'm not blaming the kid. I'm like, depending on the situation, sometimes that teacher, you got to show a little self restraint. You just can't yell at the kid like that. These are other parents' kids. I don't want you yelling at my kid. Why are you yelling at that kid? And then I'm watching some instances where the kid is talking to the teacher like trash. These teachers are human beings. And I know people are like, well, you're a teacher, you got to expect that. Do you go to your job expecting to get talked to in a ridiculous manner? Like, do you really expect that? Nobody should expect that. And sometimes teachers, they do human things and you get what you give. And some of these kids on these videos were like, well, I'm going to talk to her like this. Watch what happens. Ha ha ha. And we're shocked that the teacher wasn't having it on that day. And we're like, look at how this teacher's treating me. Nah, man, look at how you treating that teacher. You just got what you gave. So it was like a little bit of both. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, if I was a teacher, I would have definitely been like, okay, get out the class. And then I wouldn't have said anything else. I literally wouldn't have said anything else to this kid. Like, why are you egging it on? And so I'm breaking it down like I'm working for ESPN. And I'm like, okay, so here's how you want to attack this situation. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, you're always teaching and you're always learning. You know, I've had situations pop up in my classroom where a kid got super disrespectful, and I'm just looking at the kid. And I'm like, "You finished?" And they like, "What?" I'm like, "You finished?" Because you just went off, and you don't want me coming at you like that. So I suggest you get it together, or we're gonna have ourselves a major issue. And that was it. That was the end of it. And then sometimes I will see that a kid is having a horrible day, just comes in angry, and I'm like, "All right, you look a little upset. Do you want to come to class right now, or do you want to hang out in the hallway for a second?" And then they'll kind of look at me like, what? I'm like, you're not having a good day. Like, When I'm not having a good day, I drive around the block a couple of times. Like I don't immediately come to work. I just drive around the block a few times and calm down. And then they start laughing at me like, man, you crazy. I'm like, I'm just being honest. Sometimes we not on our best day. I can't expect you to come into my classroom every single day feeling like you ready to tackle math. We gonna have bad days. I'm gonna have a bad day just like you. I'm not about to take it out on you though. So I'm gonna let you make a good decision. Just come in when you're ready. I ain't got a pass though. What if I get in trouble? Just tell them to come see me, man. You good. So when I'm watching these videos, I'm like, you can't just blame the teacher every time. You also can't blame the kid every time. It's all different, and you got to understand that teachers are people, and the only thing you can ask from a teacher is that they educate your child and they don't take their bad moods out on children. You can expect those, you should be able to expect those two things from your teacher. But you also got to send your kid to school like, hey, my teacher's coming to school to teach me. I need to make sure I'm respectful. You don't even have to like the teacher, but that don't really give you carte blanche to come at teachers reckless. I mean, there should be respect on both fronts. Teachers should respect students, and students should respect teachers. I don't really think that's too much to ask. That should be part of the course. I mean, I think. I mean, you come at somebody with respect, you should get the same thing back, and vice versa. So I don't know what's up with me and YouTube lately, man. I tell my daughters this all the time. Whatever you're looking for on the internet, guarantee you'll find it. Guarantee. You're coming looking for recklessness, you will find recklessness quickly. If you're looking for positivity and teaching tools and stuff like that, you'll find it quickly. Nothing on the internet is hard to find at all. So, speaking of stuff on the internet not being hard to find, um, I'm chilling, doing the grill out thing, cooking up the meats or whatever, and something just pops in my head. I'm like, I'm a connoisseur of horrible movies. That's my thing. I I like to tell people I hate horrible movies, and then I'll watch horrible movies back to back to back. I was on Amazon Prime just watching bad African American movies, like, and the thing about it is they're all set up like they're bad, and then most of them aren't really bad. They're pretty decent. The camera work might be trash, and people might forget their lines and stuff like that and do the little fumble or whatever. But I look at the core of the story, I'm like, this ain't really bad. Like, this is actually decent. It's a nice little 1.5 star movie. There are some movies that are just so unbelievably bad. I go like, why am I watching this? And I feel ashamed that I'm watching it. And then I'll be like, I should turn it, but I can't. And I'm stuck there. So what popped in my head is, what's the worst movie I've ever sat through? What's the worst movie I've ever seen in its entirety? And as soon as I asked myself this question, I looked at my wife and I was like, hey, what's the worst movie you've ever seen all the way through? And she gave me the dirtiest look. I mean, it was just the dirtiest look I've ever seen from her. And I'm like, I shouldn't talk about this, should I? She's like, you shouldn't talk to me about this because you know the answer. So I'll break it down for you. The worst movie I've ever seen in its entirety is Black Knight. It it was bad. So I'll even set the scene for you. I tell the wife, hey, look, we should go see Black Knight. We I'm not sure if we were married or not. I gotta look out and see exactly when the movie came out, but I don't think we had gotten married yet. So I'm like, let's go see Black Knight. Martin Lawrence, that's my guy. Hilarious. Even after Black Knight, even after I watched this train wreck, I was still supporting Martin Lawrence heavy. Don't care. But I'm like, Martin Lawrence is my guy. Like, he'll never let me down. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, I seen the previews. This is trash, LP. This is trash. I'm like, it can't be. It's Martin Lawrence backed. We rolling with it. She's like, If it's bad, we walking out. I'm like, sure, whatever. We go to the movie. We sit down, we get she got the popcorn. I hate popcorn. So, I just feel like it's a waste of time eating popcorn and having to worry about it stuck in your teeth half the time. Like, what's the point? Just give me the nachos. So we sitting down. I'm nachoed up. She popcorned up. Movie come on. 7 minutes in. 7 minutes in. She's like, okay, let's go. I'm like, what? She's like, no, it's bad. LP, this is horrible. This is trash. I'm like, true, it is. But it'll get better. It's Martin Lawrence back. It's Martin Lawrence produced. Come on, let's go. We rocking with him. Let's do it. She like, look, I'll sit down. Okay. 20 minutes in. I got my head down. She looking at me with the daggers. She just staring at me. I'm like, my bad. I'm like, we invested now. Like, let's have a moment. Like, so we watching it. I mean, it's scenes where they break out in like musical song and like it's set in like the 1600s. And Martin Lawrence is a guy from like I don't know South Central LA. He gets transported to the 1600s and it was bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, this was a negative 26. And I'm just sitting there trying to think about, dang, how am I gonna get out of this? I'm like, there's no way to get out of it. You just messed up, LP. And I'm pretty sure she slept through a portion of the movie. I'm pretty sure because every time it comes on, she'll go like, I never seen that part. I'm like, you slept through that part. And she was like, you proud that you stayed up? I'm like, nah, not really. not especially, but what can you do? I've seen some bad movies. Like I I watched from Justin to Kelly. Um, I watched Geely. I watched Showgirls. Horrible movies. I think this one takes the cake simply because one, we spent money on it. Two, I got warned by the wife. I hate the fact that she's right 97% of the time. It I think I said this before on the pod, y'all. It burns me up that she is consistently correct. It really does. I've even admitted it to her. It burns me up that you're right almost all the time. And I feel like I'm a smart dude. Like I'm not dumb. But she's consistently correct. I'm like, why does this happen? It's to the point where if I'm right and she's wrong, I celebrate, man. Like I real life get on the iPhone and I found a little clapping things and I'll just hype it up. I have a lesson in my class. It comes around every year where we do like scale factors and I break out a map and I tell the story about this one time I was right and she was wrong and she knows it's coming up every single year. I literally teach it in my class because it's one of the few times I'm right. And the kids will be like, dang, Mr. Parker, you wrong like all the time? I'm like, yeah, just with her. Don't get it twisted. That's just with her. Like I'm right mostly with all of y'all. So like I got this. It I think that's the part that made this the worst movie for me. Because I had to look her dead in the eye and say what I routinely have to say. Yeah, you was right. It used to hurt back then. Now to the point where I'm like, yeah, you're right. It still hurts, but not nearly as much. That was definitely the worst movie I've seen. There are more. I can rattle off more, but that's the one. Goodness gracious. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But before I do, we definitely lost some folks. One guy, Michael K. Williams, definitely rest in peace to him. If you've seen The Wire, you know what it is. If you've seen Boardwalk Empire, he definitely lit up so many screens from the work that he did, and I mean it's something that it I feel like that's kind of hard for me to talk about because I lost my cousin earlier in the week due to COVID, and that definitely hurt. He's somebody that we grew up with. That's he he's the guy that kind of helped me and my brother. He kind of helped us get our swag and all of that. You know how you always got that cool cousin that always got the fresh kicks, and everybody knows him, and he knows everybody. That was my cousin, and to lose him, due to COVID, it's been pretty tough. It hit the family pretty hard, and that's the second person we lost to COVID. My wife lost her cousin, my cousin as well, to COVID late last year. So y'all definitely stay healthy. Definitely mask up. Do what y'all got to do to stay healthy. Don't let anybody tell you that you a sheep or something for wearing a mask or getting the vaccine or doing whatever you got to do to keep yourself healthy. Because it's wild out here, and we need to do what we need to do to stay healthy. Make sure you're checking on people's mental health as well. A lot of people may be going through things, and you don't really know it. So let's just normalize telling people, you know, we're happy you here, you're safe here. And if you need anything, just let us know. Don't wait for somebody to show the signs. Just be like, hey, you good? If you're not good, I got you. It's just something like that. Just do that. And that'll be really appreciated by everybody. Um, we're gonna go ahead and tip on out for this week. We did a 2 podcast day. So, this was kind of fun. So we'll see if we can kind of run this up like this again pretty soon. You got LP. We out for this week. Cincy Fan Talking, as always. Life is good, y'all. Peace out. If you're not ready for the conversation to end, I'm not either. Make sure to catch me on Twitter. That's the Cincy Fan Talking. Leave off the G at the end of it, and we can keep the conversation going. Also, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button so you can catch the next episodes. The episodes will drop every Tuesday. If there's a change in that, I'll make sure to let you know. Appreciate the support. As always, life is good.